Thanks for tuning into A Better World. I'm your host, Luis Acevedo. Don't forget to subscribe to loseview.blogspot.com. And today, I want to talk about something that I just discovered yesterday, despite it being relatively old news, considering how instantaneous we're getting news today. And that is the wealthy elite are, a lot of them anyway, are fleeing America or going out into rural areas. And then you have a bunch of workers from like Los Angeles, New York, leaving the big cities and going to rural areas. And now you have rural areas that are trying to combat that, prevent that from happening because they do not want their cities infected with COVID-19 or probably just snooty, rude people. And that's typically what you get in big cities. So now that's not me casting judgment, that's just an objective truth. I mean, big cities have a different culture about them and breed a different kind of people. And this is something that we see throughout history, is during the collapse of an empire or during the collapse of the epicenters, we see the wealthy going to their country homes or just fleeing, that area in general. And then you have the peasants, the commoners, people like you and I, who are stuck in those big cities, or at least that isn't the case anymore. Today we have the option of, really quick transportation, so we can hop in our cars and drive over to the next city that's a little less populated. But these things are important to know because we are being told continuously by the media, don't hoard, don't be a doomsday prepper, everything's going to be okay, and there's nothing to worry about. President Trump is tweeting things like, the economy's going to be greater than ever. You have his son who is saying stuff like, despite all of this happening, the economy is still where it was. It took a crash, an economic crash and a pandemic to bring the economy down to Obama's highs. And that to me is just disgusting that we're making this a political argument rather than looking at what is in front of us, and that is the collapse of a debt-based economy, the collapse of the American empire, the collapse of the West. And we did it to ourselves in a lot of ways. We accepted what we were given because we took the loans, we took the mortgages, we did all of these things, car loans, etc. Taking out of our 401ks, taking out loans to just go on vacation, all of these things we contributed to the debt-based economy. So yes, the system itself is messed up, and I do believe that there should be a universal debt jubilee where the countries wipe out their debts, the citizens are wiped debt-free, and we start with a clean slate. I think that is the Christian thing to do. I think that is the logical thing to do. I don't know if we'll see that happening. I know the IMF is talking about debt cancellation across the board, so we'll see, and that'll, in my opinion, usher in a new financial infrastructure, which we're in the midst of, and we're in the midst of just a total restructuring of our foundation. But what I was getting at is we've participated in this debt-based economy for so long that now we want to play the victims. Well, yes, in a way we are the victims because we don't have the opportunities and the connections to say, all right, well, I know Stephen Mnuchin or whatever the heck his name is, and he can just print me more money. I don't have that connection. You don't have that connection. And if you do and you're watching this, hook a brother up. Just saying. But more than likely you don't. And so these central banks and big corporations, they do. And so they get massive amounts of welfare while people like you and I are screwed pretty much. So we can do our part by being more frugal, by not being so materialistic and an insatiable appetite for the world. We can dig within, go within, and try and find peace there and get closer to God and humble ourselves and be patient, slow the way of our lives down a little bit. But this is definitely something where we have to take responsibility, but ultimately it's going to be the powers to be the do the massive change. Now we can influence them and say this is what we want by voting in the right people or whatever, but even then it's kind of a lost hope. So the best thing one can do is just get closer with God and realize that the world isn't going to bring you the peace that you seek. It's not going to fulfill you. It's like that story in the Bible where Jesus meets the woman at the well, and she asks him for a drink of water, and he then offers her the water that's everlasting and says, if you drink from this well, you'll never be thirsty, but if you keep going back to this well, you're going to have to keep going back to this well. And so we need to look for that eternal source, that everlasting, that can fulfill our insatiable appetites for love, for acceptance, for peace, because we'll never find it here. But the debt-based economy lives off of that. It lives off the idea that you can find peace, security, safety, and love through worldly things, and that just isn't the case. But don't be fooled by the media, bottom line, that this isn't a situation where you need to start becoming more self-sufficient. This isn't a situation where the economy is collapsing. This isn't a situation where the world as you know it is changing. Everything will go back to be the same. Don't listen to that narrative because it's wrong. They're lying to you. And some may even argue it's the noble lie to keep the masses from panicking. But I don't think there's anything... I don't know if there is a noble lie, because you're still lying. But start growing your own food, praying, get closer to God. I mean, the solution's always been there. And if you can, get out of your big cities, get out of your dense neighborhoods. And if you can't, build a community. Start growing your own food, start praying, get closer with people. So, yeah, there's never a loss of hope, but you need to be cognizant of the situation at hand. And I don't think the media is doing their job, and they haven't forever since their existence. So those of you who are like, the media used to be honest back when I was a kid, you were just too ignorant to realize it back then. But they've never been on your side and never will be on your side. So that's just something else you have to accept. But yeah, so prepare for what's to come. Invest in gold, silver if you can, crypto if you can. I'm no financial advisor. Those are just what I do, what I would do. That's definitely what I would do, but I can't, give you financial advice because that's not my job. But anyway, if you like what you see here, please like and share, and don't forget to subscribe to the blog at loseview.blogspot.com, and we will see you later. Peace.